Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Sunday morning, whenever it may be. I certainly hope you guys have been having a great weekend out there so far. Appreciate you guys tuning in this afternoon or this evening, whenever it may be, to discuss what could happen weather-wise coming up. We're not going to discuss what's happening right now. It's live. It's going on right now. There's a lot of great people out there that go live during these events to keep people aware and safe. We certainly all appreciate them, folks. But we really want to look ahead on what could happen here in the next few days, because I'm expecting severe weather for tomorrow, severe weather for Monday. And, of course, we're probably going to have more chances of severe weather as we get later into next week. But we're really going to focus in on the next few days and also talk about the air mass that could really follow behind this piece of energy. This shortwave trough is what we call it. That's the weather terminology for it. Some dry air with a surface cold front that might move in and really could. It's not going to be one of those cold fronts that, you know, you're going to bring out the pumpkin spice latte or anything like that. But I really think it'll give some folks across the country a little bit of a breath of fresh air. As we wake up in the morning, you could have a little bit of a cool down compared to what you've seen. And I think this could affect areas of Texas, Louisiana, and certainly north and especially northeast, and then across areas of the Mid-South, certainly the Ohio Valley, maybe making it all the way into portions of the Southeast. So we'll talk about that also. We'll talk about if there's any rain to come for those areas because the drought is starting to get excessive in certain areas. And then we'll give you a pretty detailed update on the tropics. What are we seeing out there? It's been pretty quiet. As I mentioned a couple of videos ago, they bumped up their projected amount of storms that we're going to have this season. So they think things are going to get pretty wild, basically between now and the rest of hurricane season. So we're going to talk about what we're seeing out there and if there's anything to be concerned about. So with that being said, you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. I've had a few people join the channel. I just want to say thank y'all. Really appreciate y'all supporting me in that way on a mission to try to get to 40 by the end of the month, end of the summer, and that's a big goal of mine. And if we don't reach it, no worries at all. I appreciate and love you guys regardless, and just thank y'all for creating this family type atmosphere. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. I don't know about you folks, but it's been a pretty lazy Saturday for me and my family. I went to do soccer practice at around 11 a.m., got absolutely wore out, and just kind of came home. And, you know, some days you just got to listen to your body. Even though you need to go out there and mow the grass, you need to go out there and blow the pine straw around. I pulled out the water slide. We have an inflatable water slide, and the girls started playing it, and I just took my shirt off and I started playing with it too. So it's been very hot here in the Carolinas today, so sometimes you just got to take a break. But anyways, taking a look at what's going on water vapor loop out there. What we're watching, and you can't see it well this afternoon, but I think as we're waking up tomorrow morning, you'll see it a lot better. Shortwave trough is digging down here. This will continue to dig and then sweep across this entire region. And as it does, it's going to bring basically a kinematic field, basically a belt of favorable winds aloft that's going to support tons of severe thunderstorm chances in this entire region over the next couple days. Okay, I think obviously more so in this region tomorrow, more so into this region into Monday. So this piece of energy is going to fly down, and then behind it you could potentially get a surge of drier air that can move down into these regions right into here. Now, this isn't going to be that dry air that when you get that first legit cold front of the fall, like in September. Sometimes it's in late August for some folks. Sometimes it's in September. For me here in the Carolinas, and I can't speak for everybody, my first cold front, the first real cold front is that cold front that really will dip you down into about the upper 50s here in South Carolina, for example. When you get that first morning in like September, which is typically when it happens on average, and it gets down to like 57, 58 degrees, to me, I get so excited because that is truly the signal that the seasons are changing. So this isn't that cold front. Of course, areas in the Midwest, Ohio Valley, we're certainly getting to the 50s, but it's a little different the further you get up north. And some people's criteria of your first legit fall cold front of the season is definitely different considering how south or north you live. But this is what it looks like on this screen. The heights and anomalies, basically in the blue, you see lower heights. In the warmer colors, you see higher heights. So basically in these blue colors, this could symbolize a low pressure, an upper trough, a cutoff low. It basically is active weather that you see in the blue. Okay, so this piece of energy really amplifies. It digs down and into the Dakotas as we're getting into tomorrow morning, and then it's digging down. It's a little bit of a positively tilted trough, shortwave trough. Remember, when it's kind of bending like this, that's a positive trough. Okay, we'll go on and explain this really quick. When it's kind of going like that is a positively tilted trough. If they are doing like this, that's a neutrally tilted trough. And if they're doing like that, that's a negatively tilted trough. When you have it going to a neutral to a negatively tilted trough, that is a sign of a strengthening system. That means you are likely getting some very dynamic weather. All right, so we'll get this back off our screen. In this case, this looks like it's going to stay pretty weak, but it's going to be enough, which means positively tilted. That's a weaker storm system. It's going to bring enough to create a boundary against this unstable, very moist air to the south. And basically at the base of this shortwave trough, you're going to have strong to severe storms Sunday and then into Monday out ahead of this system. So you see it digging down right here. That means out ahead of this is for Monday afternoon, you're going to get storms right here against the southern Alps Mountains, central and southern Alps. Okay, and then this continues. This gets into Tuesday. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get some severe weather in the northeast for Tuesday. And then we got to watch another system that could dig down. This looks a little bit more aggressive. And typically behind this blobs of blue and you see on your screen, there's a shot of dry, stable air that moves in behind it. But typically this time of the year, it's quickly taken back over by warm, moist air. But here comes another shot. So to me, this is symbolizing we're getting to the end of summer. We're starting to see the jet buckle south a little bit more. And, it's still very hot in mid-August. We know this, but we're watching more and more systems dig a little bit further and further south. This is starting to get into late next week. So that's kind of what's going on in the environment, what's driving this. Now, as far as the Storm Prediction Center for tomorrow, there is a massive slight risk. It extends basically from the panhandle of Texas all the way to Nashville, Tennessee, all the way up to Omaha, Nebraska, and then covers everybody in between. All right, the storms are going to be very widely scattered, but there's one area I'm going to focus in on, and that is portions of Missouri, where the highest tornado threat will be. And speaking of the threat levels, the tornado risk tomorrow, a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location here in southern and portions of central Missouri. You got a 2% risk up here also near Sioux Falls, and the 2% risk surrounding the 5% risk, which basically extends Kansas City all the way almost to Louisville and Bowling Green, Kentucky. All right, wind threat, just your standard 15% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail threat, just that 15% risk of hail in the yellow area. Nothing is hatched. There is no enhanced risk. And I think the only reason they would not put an enhanced risk is because, remember, this is driven off confidence. It's not driven off... obviously, you get a moderate and high risk of severe storms. That means you're probably going to have an outbreak of severe storms. But it's driven off confidence. I think that's what a lot of people get confused by. And trust me, it is very confusing. I don't blame y'all one bit for being confused. But that's why there's such weird categories. You go from a marginal risk to a slight risk to a enhanced risk, and then a high risk, and then you go from an enhanced risk to a moderate risk to a high risk. And a lot of people think in the weather community they should make the moderate risk in the middle and then make the enhanced risk that level 4 out of 5. But that's just the way it is. All right. There is going to be a risk for flash flooding. I could see this bumping up to a high risk, but as of now in the yellow, that is a slight risk. That means you have a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met here in Missouri, southern Illinois, portions of southern Indiana, and western Kentucky. It's a real threat of flooding in these areas tomorrow. This is for tomorrow. All right, so let's take a look at what the radar can look like. We'll start off Sunday morning. Yes, we are going to take a pretty broad look at this at first, but we're going to zoom in portions of like Missouri, Illinois. So there's a solid chance, and this is going to be a player, and what happens later tomorrow afternoon. There's a solid, I would say above a 75% chance. You're going to be waking up to some kind of showers and storms in and around the Kansas City area, maybe all the way to Columbia, Missouri, Springfield, Missouri, up to Omaha. We could be waking up to some strong and severe storms too. So this will clear out. And then what happens as we get into tomorrow afternoon? Okay, do you get some storms that begin to develop in southern Illinois? Do we get this line of storms that begins to ooze down into northwest Missouri? What's going on back here to the west where you have the slight risk? Well, you start to get a lot of vigorous storm development, cluster of storms here in northern Kansas. You got a cluster of storms developing here in the panhandle of Texas, drifting into the panhandle of Oklahoma, into western Oklahoma. At the same time, you got all these storms up here that are drifting further south in Kansas. This is around 8, 9, 10 p.m. tomorrow night. And then you get this little streamer of storms develops and really takes over the northern portion of Oklahoma. And this is around midnight tomorrow night. Southern Kansas, and look at these strong to severe storms in southwest Missouri. You got some nasty looking storms here in the Boot Hill, Missouri. So they're kind of everywhere. And I think this is why you just have a massive slight risk, is because I think the confidence is just not there on really who sees the worst weather. We might end up getting a very broad enhanced risk tomorrow. Level 3 out of 5. We got to see. So it's a tough one. It really is. I think that, I think it could be a very active late afternoon through the overnight hours into tomorrow. All right, the NAM of this, what does the NAM do? Well, the NAM has that morning convection too. And then we get into tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon, 4 or 5 p.m. Storms developing in southwest Iowa, southeast Nebraska. At the same time, you got a pretty nasty looking cell right here in southern Illinois. And so, and then we get, a pretty intense cluster of storms. Same thing with the HRRR model tomorrow night, right in the middle of the night, just riding northern Oklahoma, right into southern Missouri. So let's go on and zoom into these regions, okay? Let's talk about the area that has a threat for tornadoes, and that is Missouri. That's where you're going to have the best favorable wind profile loft, and then you're going to have plenty of instability. You will have plenty of instability if this morning rain clears out. Like, for example, this is 2 p.m. You're still dealing with a lot of showers in the Missouri and southern and southwest Illinois area. Okay, this continues. You could have some strong to severe storms that develops in northern Alabama or Mississippi. These could be strong to severe in southern Illinois, western Kentucky. And then you got this cluster of storms around 5 to 6 p.m. that kind of begins to develop in northern Missouri. And then these drift. And then these are the storms you might have to be the most concerned about. But then again, we'll wake up tomorrow morning and do this again. And that's why we make multiple videos, sometimes a day. Because information changes. Around midnight tomorrow night, we could have it could be very active in southern Missouri. Springfield to the Boot Hill, Poplar Bluff, very, very active. Okay, so this keeps on going. And this is the flooding risk I'm concerned about tomorrow night. It's around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. You got strong to severe storms just kind of moving parallel. They're just kind of moving over the same areas of southern Missouri. This could very well be northern Arkansas. Okay, some of these storms could most likely get into Arkansas. And then we're getting into to Monday morning, and the latest HRRR model saying, hey, we're going to wake up to some pretty active weather in this entire area right into here. What does the NAM do? Same thing, waking up to a lot of showers and storms. This will clear the state. When we get to about 4 or 5 p.m., we got a storm right over St. Louis. And then we get into the evening, not a whole lot going on, but we see these storms drifting into northern Missouri. And same thing with the HRRR model. They're agreeing pretty well. Over 24 hours out, it really wants it to be very active in southern Missouri, into southern Illinois, all the way into, as we're waking up Monday morning, into areas of Kentucky, southern Indiana, and so everything I just take, what I would take from what I just said is, you're going to get a chance of storms tomorrow afternoon in these areas, but I think it's tomorrow night that might be a time frame to really worry about. All right, but the updraft Felicity swath through about 7 p.m. tomorrow. Nothing too crazy, right? You're watching these storms here in northwest Missouri, but look what happens after the sun fully sets and we get into the middle of the night. Look at these highlighted areas right in here. It really likes some spinach into these storms in southern Missouri. Some rotating updrafts into this region, so I really want to watch out for this area later tomorrow night, and this could very well be in northern Arkansas. We were lucky a few days ago that this area did not materialize with this tornado threat that they ended up having, but We could have another threat tomorrow night. We have to watch this in southern Missouri, okay? You can tell right here the National Weather Services do not agree. That's why there's an extreme cutoff in rainfall, but I'm thinking you could get 2, 3, 4 inches of rain in southern Missouri tomorrow night, especially. A couple inches of rain is possible in southern areas of Illinois, also southern Indiana, and then areas of western Kentucky. I think you get a lot of rain basically between tomorrow morning and Monday morning. So we need to take this rain threat serious also. As we move into our Monday, that same shortwave trough continues to chug eastward. As it does, it'll bring all those ingredients that it brought the day prior further east, okay, into the Ohio Valley, the southern and central Alps region. So West Virginia, Ohio, areas of Kentucky, areas of Virginia, areas of the Mid-Atlantic, areas of Pennsylvania. I mean, even got a massive marginal risk that expands over this entire region. So Monday will be your day for severe weather, for sure. So, and then I think Tuesday we could have a chance of strong to severe storms for areas of the eastern U.S. also. But let's focus in on Monday. Remember, we're not fully into short-range model guidance, but I will tell you the ingredients are there. We'll wake up Monday morning, and as you can tell, we start to get into Monday afternoon, and basically you got this belt of favorable winds aloft. You got a mid-level jet, 40 to 50 knots. Remember, this creates that lift of the atmosphere, creates shear, allows for storm development to be the highest into this region right into here. And that's sure enough going to be the case. So you combine with the favorable kinematics for lift of thunderstorms and plenty of wind energy and the upper levels of the atmosphere. And you combine that with the CAPE levels that really build into this region. You don't need a lot, but look at these CAPE levels into eastern Kentucky, West Virginia. CAPE levels reaching over 2,000 to 2,500 joules per kilogram into this region. Tells me you're probably going to have some strong to severe storms in the entire valley region right in here and areas of these hills and mountainous regions as we get into our Monday. So really, we're not in great range, but we can start off Monday morning, and we're dealing with showers and storms in southern Indiana, northern Kentucky. These will continue to chug into West Virginia, and I think as the atmosphere really becomes unstable for West Virginia, I think that we can have a lot of showers around 1 to 2 p.m. Monday. Storms are possible in western Virginia and in West Virginia. We're going to have a lot of pop-up activity really anywhere in the southern Alps region. You got scattered storms everywhere popping up, some strong to severe storms in Kentucky. It's going to be hard to figure this one out. This is around 8 or 9, 10 p.m. You got a lot of isolated to scattered showers and storms out here for Monday evening. But it'll be a tough one for Monday. We need to get a little bit closer to it. We look at the Mid-Atlantic for this region. And it really, as we start to get to like at nighttime, it really starts to get a lot more active. Like this is around 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. This is when it starts. This is when the NAM says, hey, this is when it's going to get active for the Mid-Atlantic and these portions right here. So, you know, it's going to be tough to figure this one out, but we will know probably a lot more as we get into tomorrow. But just know that we do have a chance for strong to severe storms for those regions I just mentioned for our Monday. So behind this system, and I'm going to go and tell you right off the dot, this isn't some impressive cold front. I just mentioned that at the beginning of the video. But this time of the year, we got, and especially in the southern states, the dew points are firmly in the 70s. And we even got some dew points in the low 80s in certain areas. For example, I just saw the National Weather Service say it was 99 degrees in Tampa with a dew point of 81, making the heat index like 120-something degrees. I don't know if you've ever felt something like that before. I can't say I felt dew points in the low 80s, but not with an air temperature of like 99 degrees. But I've felt dew points in the low 80s with an air temperature of like 90, 92, and that you can barely breathe. Okay, and I know you guys in the South Central U.S. have been experiencing a lot of that lately. But so this is the good news. We'll start off tomorrow afternoon behind this upper trough, okay? You focus on the dew points in the 70s, very humid air. But look what kind of pulls in behind this. We're getting into Monday. Okay, this is moving very slow. It's agonizing how slow this is moving. It's how pivotal. I love pivotal weather, but it's definitely kind of a glitchy sight. we start off Tuesday morning. What I want you to notice right off the dot is, look, well, this is Tuesday, this is Monday late evening. Look at the dew points crashing down to the 50s. You're starting to drop the dew points in the 60s and 50s. Once you get dew points in the 50s, that's really starts to get into a crisp air mass. Okay, but you continue to move forward. We get all the way to Tuesday morning, and we got dew points into the 50s, into the Midwest areas of the Ohio Valley. The dew points are crashing from the 70s and 60s to the 50s. Look at, you got dew points in Arkansas in the 50s. These are not air temperatures, these are dew points, and we'll talk about temperatures here in a second. You're waking up to dew points in the 50s and low 50s in Dallas Fort Worth area, and yeah, I mean, the atmosphere continues to try to get beat down. So look at this. I mean, you got dew points in the 50s and 60s, low 60s, a nice air mass in place. As we get into Tuesday afternoon, dew points in the 60s and 70s, still in Georgia and the Carolinas. But as we start to get into our Wednesday, this will try to make it all the way down to like Charlotte, Columbia, Atlanta for sure. I'm pulling for this. I'm starting to wonder if this is going to make it to my neck of the woods here in Columbia. But this is Wednesday morning, guys. You got a beautiful air mass all the way down to Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. This will be a breath of fresh air for you folks in Louisiana. So this is going to bring a nice, stable atmosphere for a very short amount of time. It will bring us just some more drier air, less humid is what I'm trying to say. Okay, but as you keep going, the humidity, of course, is going to build back in, and, you know, obviously we're going to get very humid again by the time we get into late next week. But so what does lower dew points do to the temperatures, you ask? Well, it allows for the wet bulb temperature to be lower. So basically, if your dew point is sitting at 70 degrees, and you're, and it's not budging, your moist air mass is entrenched in place, your dew points are sticking in the low 70s, and your high temperature for that day got to 95. Well, as the temperatures begin to drop that night, and your dew point wants to sit at 70 to 71, 72, your temperature will try to basically drop all the way to the dew point. And unless you get some kind of changing of air masses, you're basically going to meet that super saturated level. And that's why a lot of times you wake up to a lot of dew on the grass, because your actual air temperature will be like, let's say 73 degrees. You drop down all the way down to 73 degrees, but your dew point's like 72.7, 72.8, like literally just a couple tenths off. So that's about as close as they can be to one another, right there. So that, and once they get that close, your air becomes super saturated. That's when your humidity levels are literally 100%. But it's the same thing. If your air temperature is 55 degrees and your dew point's like 54.8, your humidity is at 100%. Okay, but your dew point at 55, your dew point at 54 and your air temperature at 55 is going to feel totally different than your air temperature at 73 and your dew point at 72. But both of those humidity levels are going to be 100% because the air is super saturated. So I tell you all that to remember, when you're trying to measure how humid it is outside, don't look at that humidity percentage. Okay, it can be 45 degrees outside and the humidity level can be 100%, but it's not going to feel like that summer humidity because it's 45 degrees outside. So I hope that makes sense. It probably is still confusing, but I'm telling you, it takes everything that I got not to nerd out at work on people, because they'll be like, man, it's hot out there, man. It'll be like 95 degrees, humid as all get out, and they'll be like, man, the humidity level's like 83%. I'm like, dude, it's dew points, man. But you can't tell people that, and their eyes will get crossed on you, and they won't understand what the heck you're talking about without geeking out on them like I just did there for about 3 minutes on y'all. So let's get back to this. Low temperatures. I mean, look at your low temperatures. Projected low temperature around the Dallas-Fort Worth area for Monday morning in the 80s. All right, but look at Tuesday morning. You're dropping down to the 70s again, where it's been very hot, very humid. You got some low 60s, upper 50s, kind of oozing down to Oklahoma. And then you get into Wednesday morning, and you might get down to the upper 60s for low temperatures in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I know you're thinking, that's lame. But it's better than what you've seen, okay? And, you know, same thing with Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas is looking really nice. The Ozarks will definitely get down to the 50s. And, you know, it quickly gets hot again. But I really think sometime in the middle of the week this week, I think you guys will have some comfortable mornings out here where you can finally get outside in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Northeast Texas, and might have a breath of fresh air. Now, do I think it's going to make it all the way down to Houston? No, I don't, unfortunately. But this is the little bit of the cold front that we'll get. We'll kind of get things back to what they're supposed to be around summer. But temperatures, low temperatures here for the Ohio Valley, Mid-South, Deep South, everybody you see on your screen. Sunday morning, I mean, it's downright chilly for you folks in the UP of Michigan, northern Wisconsin, waking up to the 40s and 50s. Must be nice. And then we get into Monday morning, we get into Tuesday morning. Look at these nice, cool fall-like temperatures dipping down here, okay? Waking up to some upper 50s, low 60s in Indiana, widespread low 50s in Iowa. And then we get into our Wednesday morning. Look at these 50s in the southern Alps region, the central Alps region. Waking up to, you know, some 50s down as far south as maybe northern Alabama. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets into the upper 50s. And then we get into our Thursday morning, and then we pretty much lose the atmosphere as quick as we got it. So I really think we'll get some some crisp nights for a night or two for areas of the country. Is it going to be enough to put that window down? Not unless you live like in the Ohio Valley, the Midwest. But we'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to that first real cold front where we can just talk about widespread upper 50s. If you guys have not tuned in to my channel during the fall and especially winter and seen, that's when my real passion comes out. Y'all think that, you know, I get personal with you guys now. If you haven't tuned in when we're reeling in a winter storm for the Southeast, oof, you're in for a surprise there. I just get very excited. You guys know I don't talk in robot form to you guys. I try to be personal. I try to talk to you guys like I'm literally talking to an entire audience. But yeah, rainfall. So not the best news. I'll be honest. This is rainfall between now and the next week. I don't see a whole lot of rain for the areas that really need rain, and that is northern Texas, central Texas, areas of Louisiana. Houston, you might get a little bit of rain here and there, but this is the blend of all models. And it just, guys, I will tell you like this. It's very hard to break out of a pattern like this. When you're dry and you stay dry too long, it's almost like you get to the point where you'll need a sledgehammer to break this pattern. So a lot of times, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but a lot of times what really and truly takes to break these kind of patterns is some kind of major event. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but a lot of times, you know, to end a crappy pattern like this, you need, it ends up being some kind of significant event. And I'm not saying a hurricane's going to crush the Louisiana or Texas coastline, but it is weird how that works sometimes. It really is. So let's talk about the tropics. As you can tell, there's nothing to speak on right now that's out there. Okay, no new tropical cyclones are expected during the next 7 days. We'll take a look at what's going on out there. Nothing to really speak on close to home except just regular environmental features. But there is a wave coming off North Africa, already a wave, portions of the wave along the monsoon trough out here that's just chilling. This is not unusual at all. What there is a lot of dry air still out in the tropical Atlantic. You can see it here. You see the black icon here. This symbolizes dry all levels. So there's a lot of dry air on top of all this shower and convection activity along this monsoonal trough right here. And which is basically just a belt of moisture. But there's a lot of dry air out in front of it. So, and then you got this tut right into here. That's basically this upper level low that's affecting areas of the eastern Atlantic. So there's nothing going on out there right now. But is there anything that's going to happen? Is there anything that's going to come of these waves? Okay. Well, you look at the GFS, which is typically that model that just goes haywire, right? We're only going to go 10 days out. Okay, now, there's no point in going out past that. There's really no point in going all the way 10 days out. So as we make our way into this week, what you watch for is something like this. You see this over the Eastern Pacific, which is very active right now. You want to see something like this. We call this a dominant vortice. And you watch for that over the tropical Atlantic. Okay, you see how this basically this line is circled up? That is our high pressure dominating the tropical Atlantic. Okay, so we'll continue to move through in time. We get into August 16th, the 17th, the 18th. We got a little vortice right here coming up. Is it going to do anything? It doesn't. It fizzles out on this run. We get into August 20th next weekend, and then we get about 10 days out. There's still nothing really going on. Yeah, I mean, there is a little consolidated area of energy right in here, but outside of that, there's nothing going on at the GFS. What about the European model? Okay, same thing. We'll go through 10 days out, and what I want you to notice is there is a little, and you see in the yellow and orange here, if you look really closely, you see the wind barbs circling up, indicating rotation or circulation with this. You see this little piece of energy kind of moving towards the Lesser Antilles. We'll watch that. At the same time, there's another piece of energy right into here, but this looks like it's chugging immediately out to sea. There's no really blocking high, keeping this moving and chugging, basically chugging east to west. So you stop it here. Well, actually, we'll just go 240 hours out, which is 10 days. You got a little piece of energy flying around this high pressure way out in the northeast North Atlantic. And then you got a piece of energy that done got into this area we never wanted to get into. We got rocket fuel as far as hot sea surface temperatures in the Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico. So 10 days out, we got some kind of energy here in the Western Caribbean, south of Cuba. But outside of that, there's nothing alarming. And you notice how somewhat different the European is than the GFS. And then we got the Canadian model, which I will go on and let you guys know right at the dot, not a super reliable model for the tropics. The Canadian model wants to go all in on multiple pieces of energy. It does develop vortices. It develops this. Okay, this is this coming Friday evening. You got a system developing here, a system developing here, and then another one behind it. So we'll go about a week out, and we got an all-out tropical storm, low-end hurricane beginning to turn north of the Lesser Antilles. And then we got some kind of system right here out in the middle of the tropical Atlantic. And then we go all the way to 240 hours out, 10 days out, and we got just an all-out hurricane basically beginning to flirt with the Bahamas, a system right behind it, and then a system right here. So the Canadian model symbolizes a very active scenario. We got to watch, okay? But as you can tell, there's no agreement. Now we look at the European ensemble, all right? It looks pretty active. Remember, this makes up about 51 members. So it shows 3 signals, really. It's hard to call this a signal. It picks up on a piece of energy here, and, you know, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. About half the members of the ensemble pick up on this. And then there's another member or area behind it. And this only goes out 7 days. Okay, if you were to keep this going out, 240 hours out, might as well, just for fun. It takes that first system and brings it towards the area that we don't want it to, which threatens land. It takes the one behind it and turns it out to sea and gets very strong. Some of these members are strong. So if you're looking at the European ensemble, it says it's going to get active here in about the next 7 to 10 days, but doesn't. So that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. Sorry that I got off track a couple times. It was just talking to you like you're right in front of me, like I always do. God bless all y'all. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.